Do you accept that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, Nachman? Welcome back to... Oh my goodness gracious. We are here for the post-2024 election coverage post-game with our returning champion in the house, Nachman Chanevsky. Welcome to Ami's house. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Is Nachman our first returning guest?
Oh,
Yeah,
I think you're
he is.
the first one who's gotten a second invite, Nachman. This is a big kibbutz for you, a big honor.
So I'm the only returning guest.
Yeah, so far.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one else will return our calls
Yeah.
for some reason. Dovey Newberger, we're going to get you back, Dovey.
Yeah.
We'll get
So,
you.
what a week, huh, Nachman?
It's been a crazy week, but a good week.
A good week.
Yeah.
Tell me, how'd you feel going into the election? Night before, night of.
I knew not to trust the polls, and I knew he would win. I was only concerned, quite frankly, is how much they would steal. He had to go past it.
Yes, because this had to be a big win.
2020 was a disaster. Not because he did well, he did very well, but it was a massive fraud. And the mere fact that you can't even discuss it indicates how big of a fraud it was.
I think that's where we ended off the last episode,
Yeah.
on that exact line. I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the big thing. So Trump numbers in election 2024 are up in every dimension, every demographic. They've all gone up. Biden's numbers last time ended up at around 80 million. 81 million.
Yeah.
Harris's numbers on this election ended up at
Maybe 70. She's about 11 million less than...
11 million less than Biden. So the question is, these magical 10 to 20 million that Biden got overnight in 2020, right? Why didn't they do it again this time?
Because it's interesting, because your father, for example, like my close friend, has somebody he communicates on emails, which we do. His name is Gerald Platt, and he's rather well plugged in, and knows people, and knows he's a big donor.
He's a member of the deep state.
Yeah, right.
A member.
Very deep. And I told him I want to be able to meet Lara Trump. What do you want to meet Lara Trump for? I want to discuss what are they doing. This goes back 5 or 6 months ago, not recently. Right. What are they doing to prevent what happened in 2020? Your father kept saying the Republicans should go do early voting and they should push mail-in voting, should do the same thing the Democrats do. The problem is Republicans don't cheat, or hardly at all. Democrats, they live on that. All the cases of fraud everywhere that has been come up all the time, only one way. It's only one. If they find problems, it's only one way. It doesn't go the other way. Everybody likes to equivocate. Yeah, he does it and he does it. There's no point of equivocation. So I wrote an article to my email people about that, which said they should concentrate less on trying to do more mail-in votes, because they will or they won't. You're never going to match it. Instead, they should concentrate on trying to prevent, now that you know what they did, the Democrats, specifically in the battleground states, try to prevent it. Try to have more people there monitoring the vote, have legal representation at the go, that in case they see something that's untoward, they have a way to report it and do something about it. Because the general way people talked about it was, if it was true, then how come why did all the courts dismiss it when they brought it up? Well, that's all nonsense. It never happened. Number one, most of the courts, most just didn't want to hear it. Even the Supreme Court, assuming the Supreme Court will put it in a position to overturn the 2020 election, most would choose not to get that involved in it. They can overturn a small part of it here and there. They might
because of the risk and tension it would cause an unrest.
Especially, I believe the what's his name, the Chief Justice. He wouldn't do it. Roberts just would not do it.
Like
and many courts won't do it. Now that you know what happened with Trump's,
Roberts, you like that I knew that?
With Trump's, with Trump's all convictions, you can see how crooked so many of these courts can be, and then they are.
But weren't there some people favorable to Trump? You would think that still didn't see evidence of election fraud?
They never. The biggest problem is evidence. There's an old statement.
That's a problem. You need evidence.
Well, yes, you do if you want to go the legal route.
Right.
And they say absence of evidence is evidence of absence. And that's an important line. In order to file a successful court challenge,
Yeah.
you need a year. You need sometimes a year and a half. You have to collect depositions and collect evidence and arrange it. You don't have time from the time an election ends in the beginning of November until January 6th, or whenever they have to certify it, to do that. It's too short of a time. It's just not a practical way to go about it. You have to prevent it. And you can't instruct Republicans, go fill in as many phony mailing ballots as you can and do it. They won't do it. You have to prevent the Democrats as much as possible from doing it. And that's, in fact, what they did.
Do you accept that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, Nachman?
No.
But strategically he did. Say what you want.
But you had so much evidence then which you couldn't discuss. You had precincts, I'll give you an example. You had precincts in some of the battleground states where 110% of the electorate voted. It's right there.
110% of the electorate, meaning people that didn't exist.
It means in a normal election, a high turnout election, 70% of the registered voters vote.
Right.
When you have 100%, it's fraud.
Well, no, Biden with his charisma and his magnetism, it was irresistible.
I forgot all about that. There's a guy sitting in his basement, the most unpalatable, who
doesn't know he's alive.
I voted for him a couple times.
Got 81 million votes, which no one ever did.
Michael voted for him 3 times that day.
Once in New York and one in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Once Pennsylvania did it.
He was so passionate.
And Indiana.
You can see, by the way, how easy it could be to do such a thing. I mean, I went to New Jersey to vote. They didn't ask me for an ID. I had to write a signature.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I did see a tweet today which showed all the states that don't require voter ID. What color were they?
They were green.
Blue as can be.
Not green.
Not green. They were blue states. All the
Of
states that
course.
require Republican states that were surging in red, and the ones that didn't have high red numbers, they all didn't require voter ID. The question is why? What do you?
So what happened this time to prevent them?
In California, if you ask for voter ID now, it's illegal.
Right.
It's insane what's going on.
What's the joke?
Look dispassionately at what the Democrats did in early 2020. They filed maybe 250 lawsuits all around the country to completely eviscerate the voting system. They introduced ballot harvesting, which was a no-no. They made that.
Well, we got to protect our farmers.
Of course. They made voting period rather than voting day. They made.
You're saying there was a concerted effort a part of the Democratic Party to say we're going to steal this election way in advance.
Massive, and it was done in the beginning of 2020. All the mailing ballots you used to have to request a ballot in order to get it. They're now able to send it out to whoever they want as often as they want.
Was any of that illegal or just crafty?
No, this is a series of stuff they did in 2020. And you say to yourself, and of course you could not question so many things on the ballot. On the
and COVID, ballot. They allowed for it too because people weren't going to come in person.
Well, they were concerned people won't vote because of COVID, so naturally the Democrats felt morally obligated to do something about it. Hence, supposedly they did in the beginning of 2020. But all they did was, even Jimmy Carter said that the system most subject to fraud is mail-in votes. And they enabled the mail-in thing and of course they did drop boxes. I'm jumping around. Drop boxes with unmanned. I mean, they did everything you can imagine. And you say, well, now what happened? All of a sudden, Joe Biden got 81 million votes, and Trump got more votes than anybody else could have. And before that, and he lost. I remember going to sleep midnight in
Safe
2020.
Ready for good news.
He was way ahead. He was going to win. And all of a sudden, all accounting stopped. In all 5, 6 different states, it stopped at one time.
And they did also change the law in Pennsylvania to count votes later.
And that was illegal, too.
Yeah, that was.
That was illegal, too.
True.
They did so many things.
The governor changed? Was illegal to do it, or the governor changed the law?
It was illegal to change the law. Had to be the state legislature that did that, and they did it without it. But nobody did anything about it, so they changed it at the last minute.
Changed the law at the last minute to allow for votes to be counted after the window.
If you had your father, he's very good with the specifics. Right. I have the general trend. I'm not that good.
Your father's name and place of businesses again.
Yeah, so we'll leave him anonymous. My father's name is anonymous.
But
Banksy.
So they did that, and then you got up in the morning the next day, and Trump lost, and then you begin to find about all the anomalies. so many things that came out about boxes. I remember watching the one in Detroit where we were watching one of the counting areas, and people were wondering what's going on there. And they went ahead and they put on cardboard on the windows. Nobody should be able to see inside of it. This was in Democratic precinct, obviously. There were so many things that went wrong. And to top it all off, if you question it, you're an election denier. How could you do such a terrible thing? You cannot deny elections. And now in 2024, that you see that this was even a more supercharged election. There was no COVID. There was a lot of activity on both parties, a lot of $1 billion worth of ads on the Democrat side, the Republicans had Trump, whatever went on. You had a crazy turnout. Trump got the same amount of votes as did in 2020, 74 million and change, almost the same.
He got more overall.
He got more, but not that much. I mean, he was in the...
popular vote, that means, unless hers was just
popular,
that much
no, but she got 11 million votes, less than
votes,
Biden got over there. It's a fraud. It was a fraud. It was a massive, there's more evidence than that. I'm giving just...
And they didn't attempt to do it this time, or Republicans were much better at screening for it?
There were two elements to that. One element, for some reason, I wrote an article about it, there was an agreement that the Republicans signed.
Never mind, go ahead.
They say about 20 years ago, something like that, where they allowed the Democrats to control the counting without any supervision, without any partisan person being there. That expired a few years ago, and before 20, that expired. And now this new team that Trump put together,
to supervise
the whole thing, they did the right thing. They went and they had all the legal things ready. They had all the people watching the
concentrated
observers
in the battleground states, I presume.
You're not going to do it all over the country. You don't need to do it all over the country. They
did it in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
They did that, and they cut down a lot of the fraud that took place. But it's still going on. Why are votes still being? What is today? November 11th.
Yeah.
That's right, 11th hour, 11th.
And they're still counting.
And they're still counting. What kind of nonsense? What are they counting? And it's only in blue states. None of the red states are still counting, only there. There's so many things that without having, it's like walking around and a guy walks into a building and then he walks out and the man is dead. You didn't see him shoot the guy, but nobody else was there. It just happened. You heard a bang maybe, but you didn't see him
guilty until proven innocent. I agree.
Exactly. So if you want to use the
foundation,
the legal criteria of what's right or what's wrong, but it just stinks. And if you discuss it, you're an idiot.
Well, now we're free to discuss it. We've all been uncanceled with the victory of Donald Trump overwhelmingly in a glorious third act. I mean, the victory had to be overwhelming in a sense. If it was even tight, I don't think it would have had the same effect. It's not just a victory, but an overwhelming victory. The question is then, why do Democrats, in your view, why are they the only ones who have to cheat? Why do Republicans just not do it?
It's a very good question, because I'll tell you, my opinion is, especially now the very far left Democrat Party, person on the far left is convinced that his ideology is correct. And he also, like all good socialists and communists, the ends justify the means. It's good enough, it's acceptable to cheat, as long as the net result is you'll get them.
Vision.
No, you'll get them, and they have the right ideology. So that's why they're more prone to do that, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
They think they're doing the right thing. They know cheating is not right, but after all, you're getting, at the end of the day, a left-wing government, which is so much better for the people.
There's also a real disdain for the general population, the everyman person on the left, more so than the right.
Of course.
I do. The way they think about it. What are all the mainstream media liberal types doing now across the spectrum? When you're watching the news now, they're saying, what's wrong with the country? They're not saying what's wrong with us.
No, that's not.
You see a lot of this disdain where they love democracy if it works, if they win. But they certainly don't
no.
I think
except in 2020 they didn't love it.
I think the Democrats lost it really when after the debate with Biden, and people and then they just lied to the American people's face saying that he was fine. I think most people at that point who were somewhere in the middle looked at him and went, they're not really that different than the Republicans in the end. And then when they elevated Kamala without any sort of like democratic process,
coronation,
they were also like, which one of us doesn't believe in democracy? I really think like it was lost then, and like the
credibility,
it didn't even matter.
I love when they point out that they love to say, well, Biden lost the debate to Trump. No, Trump didn't win the debate. He wasn't particularly good. All that happened in that debate was Biden was exposed. He couldn't hide him anymore. All along the line for the last 4 years, they were telling him he was fine. He was top of his game. How many Democrat leaders would say, "Oh, but Biden's at the top of his game"? It said it as little as a few months ago. And
Kamala said it an awful
They
lot.
lie straight to your face with a straight face. They don't care, and they're just
or a
lying.
gay face, they're open.
Yeah, right. They lied, and then they say he was fine.
Yeah.
But once he went on that, and he didn't think that Trump would accept the debate either. I mean, the Democrats didn't think Trump would accept it. They made it in a very one-sided situation. They had two Trump haters moderating the debate. It was in a station that, of course, does not support Trump. They didn't allow an audience, and everything else to make sure Trump would be, pretty much disadvantaged in the debate. But he didn't win that debate, Trump.
Yes.
He wasn't stellar.
He said, I don't know what he said.
But you can see right in the open.
I don't think he knows what he said either. He lost. And here's the thing.
He was exposed.
If these Democrats are so shrewd and they were able to pull off 2020, my question is this. What were they thinking? If deep down, if they're lying to the American people's face, which means they kind of know he's completely losing it and demented, and she's the worst, least popular candidate ever. Like, they don't want to lose. Are they that arrogant to think we can pull this off?
They're not arrogant. They're aware of what they control, and what they control is the media. That is absolutely key. Because they control the media doesn't report. The media reporters are activists. They're not journalists to seek the truth. It used to be when I was young. The journalists wanted to get a scoop, to get the first story out. Even left-wing journalists in the 60s and the 70s, the 80s, when they were thought that you were skewing the news, they would apologize. Dan Rather resigned, not because he was accused of somehow not being objective in that particular case. I think it was Bush's what do you call it, service and something, whatever it was. But they had a veneer of trying to be journalists. Not today. Today they're activists. Today I am on the Democrat team, and that's where I'm at. And anything that I report that'll hurt the team, I'm not going to report.
There's a difference between conservative media and liberal media is that the conservative media says, I am on the Republican team. The liberal media says, I'm impartial. Wink, wink. That's a huge thing. Like,
does MSNBC say they're objective, or do they? I know CNN says they're
CNN
neutral.
does, and MSNBC says that. Well, what do they say? That they're do they advocate for? I mean, what's their brand?
When was the last time you watched MSNBC?
You like to watch it.
I don't watch MSNBC. I only watch NBC in clips when I see it sometimes on Fox. I can't stand watching it.
But no,
but when I see the clips, I said, my God, how do you say things like that? Yeah. I mean, it's insane.
Well, Joy Reid has a point.
Oh yeah, Joy Reid has a point.
You know?
Wait. So
first of all, she's gorgeous.
So does Hamas have a point.
Joy Reid's, I mean, she's awful. You know what's so fun? Yeah, sorry.
No, so go.
I had a juicy thing, which is what's happening now in.
But I want to go back to his answer in a second.
In the MSNBC world, what's happening is you're seeing the fracturing of the far left, like constituencies turning on each other. So black women. Joy Reid is calling upon black women to completely cut themselves off from white liberal women. We're not coming to your rallies anymore. Don't call us. Like, you don't have, like, because Trump won, they are sort of saying white women came out for Trump. So the identity politics is turning on itself. Because even if you're a white liberal feminist, because white women voted for Trump, we're going to lump you leftist white women in with them. We're no longer allies. And you're just seeing this kind of
that's true.
Fracturing. They're turning on each other.
And who started this whole self-identity and stuff like that? Where did it all begin?
Obama.
It did, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Prior to Obama, we used to be a situation.
Don't forget his answer if you want.
The media, the media would never used to say a black person committed a crime. A person committed the crime. That whole idea of identifying who and whatever, it all started under Obama with Trayvon Martin and all that whole situation.
Yeah.
He began the entire racialization of the society. Nobody else. I'm not saying they weren't teaching it in colleges, and that was there from before, the CRT and other kind of stuff.
I'm trying to remember if Obama really ran the media coverage of him put it in this place of like making it about his identity and making that historically significant, which in a sense it was. What's weird is that
not that he was black. No,
Yeah.
that's historically significant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it away from that.
Right.
But whenever something happens, everything's identified. You're a white woman. You're a black woman.
In what way
you're
was
an elder. Everything is identified.
Right.
You're a gay guy. Everything is we all know what identity politics is.
But
It started then.
You think it's? I mean, I feel like it's been at the universities just festering for since the 70s.
You're probably right. This whole ideology in its current form began in universities. I mean, only universities. I remember when 9/11 happened.
Yes.
A professor in Colorado, his name was Churchill, I forgot his first name, Wade Churchill, something like that, came out with a crazy idea that it was the U.S.'s fault that we caused the bombing of the place. Only college professors do that.
Yes.
The more general mainstream theory you have to present, the more it's acceptable in academia.
And that's an appropriate place to discuss it.
Yeah, it's the only
as a
place.
theoretical idea.
and that's what they do. So
There's something so ridiculous only an intellectual would say that.
precisely.
Yeah, and it can be worked out and proved or disproven
Precisely.
in an academic setting. It doesn't need to be then like become a movement.
Right, but
Yeah.
it does. But what happens is these professors like this idea. It never has to face real world consequence or be tested
Right.
or challenged because the academia is much more left wing, and then they just get to impart it on impressionable students who go, "Ooh, my whole worldview is going to be reshaped now." But I'm trying to remember when in the Obama era, when identity politics became this like obsessed thing on the left. It seemed like there was a gradual progression. I remember towards gay marriage. And
Yes,
once that happened,
yes.
it seemed like, okay, take the win. But then it just kept going. Like it kept moving in this pendulum of, like, I remember these progressive social issues.
Yeah.
Like back then, Obama, you could say on social issues where it's just like, he would say like, we need to listen to each other. We need to talk to each other. He didn't obsess as much about identity as...
I feel like Hillary...
I hate calling them progressives.
Yeah, I get it.
Everything.
You know what I mean,
Everything.
the shorthand.
Of course I know what you mean.
But I'm trying to remember in the post-Obama era, he led to Trump. I remember there was a big backlash of like this canned... What's weird is I remember pre-Obama, things were like, race in the country was kind of in a decent place in which people were through the 90s and early 2000s and through the Bush years.
That's how they voted for him.
Well,
and they voted for him gladly. And people
not as far as I'm concerned. The conversation about race was like reaching a point to Obama's election where you're like, like we just elected a black president. And you would think from there on, the projection is we're like transcending this whole bad history
exactly
of us.
What I'm saying.
And it's gotten so much worse observationally.
Yeah.
Obviously, the race conversation doesn't affect me personally. I'm not black, but I know what you're getting at. But I'm saying the conversation and culture around racial identity politics has only descended into much worse places.
I remember-
That's exactly what I said. That's precisely what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I remember when Hillary was running.
Yeah.
For some reason, the two biggest shows were the O.J. Simpson trial on FX. Do you remember that?
The who?
The O.J. There was a show, a dramatic show about the O.J. Simpson trial.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the most popular show. It's all anyone talked about.
Right.
And the movie Get Out was really huge. And I remember thinking to myself, like, isn't it weird that we're supposed to be past white versus black in America?
Exactly.
Yet in the
Post-racial.
popular consciousness, there seems to be this appetite for understanding that like racism is real and exists.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. I would think people would find this boring, but everyone's fascinated by it. And then as soon as Trump won, it exploded. And it's all anyone wants to talk about.
Exactly.
So it didn't go anywhere when Obama won. It just sort of like whatever there was left to discuss just sort of like got suppressed.
His second term got a lot more racialist than the first.
I don't remember.
Completely, much more than before than it was before that. And he definitely introduced it into the American discussion. Besides, of course, the universities and stuff like that, which you find out later on. Yeah, no question.
Well, I remember after the Reverend Wright stuff, we're going way back. He had to have this. We wanted to have this elevated discussion about race because he's half white, half black, and
that's correct.
Wanted to talk about it. But I don't know if I can attribute it directly to him, but I just know that everything just descended in such a different way, in which we started to view identity and racial identity as paramount. Like that is your signature identifier. That's what we determine you are and what you believe based on your race. But I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's funny to think that Trump came right after Obama.
Yeah, Obama never took any accountability for it, as far as I understand.
No, he doesn't. He never did. No.
But I don't remember him always like demonizing white people. He didn't talk.
I'm sure he never did that.
Well, he's got a white mom.
Yeah, I'm sure he never demonized white people.
No, like the way it's talked about now in the culture. Obama
well, you're
didn't.
not saying it came from him.
When you say it came from him,
or
in
what
what
do you
sense?
mean?
What do you mean?
That it came from Obama.
Well, you said it came identity politics came from Obama.
In his second term, it was much more out there. We started identifying everybody by identity.
Him or just
no, the
culture did.
The whole I think
Under his
mostly
leadership.
introduced by him. Yes, Obama, to my mind, is a fraud anyway. What can I tell you? Totally, he's not Obama.
Oh, explain that one.
His name really probably should have been Davis, not Obama.
Who's Obama's daddy?
There's a great.
Let's just keep going one more. Now that we're free and Trump's becoming president and the internet
his
is
daddy.
What was your other question?
His daddy is probably Frank
Yes,
Marshall.
yeah.
His daddy is probably Frank Marshall Davis. That's who his father is.
And who is Frank Marshall Davis?
Frank Marshall Davis was a very smart black American
communist.
Communist in Hawaii who ran the docks, and he was also a pornographer. And I remember clearly in the beginning in 2008 seeing on the internet pictures of Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Dunham. Her name was Stanley, naked on some couch. And it was passed around as Obama's mother. It looked just like Obama's mother, but whatever it is. And then there was a whole expose that came out on you can buy it in a
supposedly
DVD,
human,
who described the entire situation. Obama's mother, the Dunhams, moved from Seattle to Hawaii in the early 60s, whenever it was, and the father, although was represented to be a furniture salesman, was in fact a CA operator, and he was in charge of bringing African students to Hawaii, competing with I remember that very well, competing with Russia to get as many of the emergent African students to come to their side, our side, back and forth, and that's what he was in charge. And then Obama's mother. There's also I remember the video is very explicit. Everything had it made sense. It was a CD, and you could buy that, and it was very well produced. And then what came out at the end was quite interesting. When she moved to Hawaii, she was very much like jazz, and this guy Frank Marshall, and eventually the two got together. And he most likely impregnated her.
Had a little berry.
And the couch that I saw in all this thing was his couch.
How much did you watch? How detailed were the?
I just remember. I'm very bad at retelling stories in all the detail. I remember it in pieces, but it was his couch, and the basic story was that when she got pregnant, this is by
Harvey Weinstein was watching.
Yeah, right. And when she got pregnant, her father decided to set up this marriage to Barack Obama, who was a what do you call it, Kenyan, who was one of the students he brought over as a setup. So, and of course, nobody ever saw the wedding, because there wasn't any real wedding, and the whole name. And Obama, by the way, has zero to do with his Kenyan family. He never goes there because it's not his family. He knows that. It's all a fraud. And when he was born, that's how the whole thing came about. Basically, that he's not Obama.
What does that matter, though?
It doesn't, but only because it doesn't, but only to the extent that it's just he's thin. Frank Marshall Davis was he writes in his own book, and which he didn't write, by the way, but he writes in his own autobiography about being attracted to the communist professors in the school and stuff. He went to, what school was it in the West Coast? But this was all. He was actually raised very much to be a communist. He is, by the way, very much.
That's the point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Saying that who Marshall Davis was is important. Not that there's a dispute over who the father is, but the fact that Mr. Davis was a communist Marxist professor.
The people who raised him.
And he was raised with
these
ideas.
He was raised completely like that. In the beginning, his mother married an Indonesian, Sotero. He was called Barry Sotero at that time.
Now we got an Indonesian in the mix.
Yeah, but that's what essentially his whole background. Listen, his entire rise was he came out of nowhere. Basically, he was just a state senator.
Who do you think? Do you think someone elevated him?
Did someone? I don't believe. Listen, and these days people worry about conspiracy theories. If you don't like what you're saying, you're a conspiracy. Unfortunately, most of these conspiracy theories turn out to be true, including the main one like JFK, which
we're going to find out
Obama
about
killed
that
him.
soon.
No, LBJ might have, but that's a different story.
Okay, we got to save it one second. Let's stay on the Obamas for a second. Yeah. Is Michelle's real name Big Mike, and is she a man?
That to me is stupid. I don't think she's a man. I think she's a woman. I don't believe it. Listen,
you haven't seen the bulge.
People argue they never saw her pregnant, this and that. I don't know, but you can't document. But she, to me, appears to be a woman.
I got more. How much do you know about the cook that they employed that ended up drowning on their property?
I know about it. And I know people talking about it. I don't know what there is to know about it, and nothing came out, so I have no knowledge of anything. I doubt that Obama killed him. Maybe you would. Maybe.
Well, that's the first thing you've said about the man.
You know what Tim Dillon says? He's like, what's the point of all that work if you can't just kill your cook when you feel like it? What is the point of having that power?
They keep alluding to it. I don't know what he did. Right. Listen,
they say there was some kind of a love triangle
the JFK
going on.
Deal
the gay thing is. Did Obama fool around on Tucker?
Obama's gay, in my opinion. My opinion, there's too much of it. He's probably gay. And
what makes you say that?
This is he writes it himself.
This is known.
He said he writes
thin.
He writes it
He's
himself.
Thin, Michael.
He wrote it in his own Dreams of My Father that he was always attracted to gay this and gay that. He writes it in his own situation. He doesn't write I am gay, but he's attracted to them. And I don't know. I don't have any.
The audacity of
see Dreams of My Father is the most well-read book in your house. You've read his biography.
I didn't read it
100 times.
The guy,
everything's underlined.
The name is Cashel. Something Cashel wrote. Yeah. He was a forensic literary analyst from Yale too. He was quite good. And somebody wanted to know who wrote something. He would be a person to analyze it. He analyzed that book, and he said that book was written by Bill Ayers. Not by Obama. Bill Ayers.
I'll be honest. I know the name.
Bill Ayers.
Terrorist.
Bill Ayers is a terrorist. He was a weatherman underground. The guy was married to what's her name, Dorn something, and he's a professor in the college. Obviously, who else would hire him but the universities? And he's very literate. Knows how to write. Obama never wrote. Even when he was in charge, he was legal. He was. In Harvard, whoever was law review was president law, always wrote things. He wrote nothing. I'm not saying Obama's not smart. He's an intelligent guy. There's nothing about that. But there's no question that he did. There's no question. He identified the style of the writing of Dreams of My Father to Bill Ayers.
Why would Bill Ayers?
Who did write?
Bill Ayers was his mentor.
Yes.
Why? Oh, and when
they
he
were very all far
when he was
left
successful,
people.
he said, "You need a biography, and I'll write it for you."
Stuff. I think he was involved in his early days.
Why else would somebody who's 30 years old write an autobiography?
Then why would he write all that damning information in there?
He doesn't. It's not what he does reveal. It's what he doesn't reveal. It alludes to it. I didn't read the book.
You think he gave it to him? He's like, Barry, I made you.
He wrote another book too. He has 2 books.
You think I made you a little gay? Enjoy the book.
What a present!
What did you do? What did you do? You can't talk about that. Bill, we had a deal.
Should I write an autobiography for you?
I said you can't mention that I like dudes. You cannot mention that.
I didn't. I said you're attracted to them.
You haven't acted upon it, Barry. Relax. Look, we'll marry Michelle. She's the closest thing to a dude we're gonna get.
That marriage officially was not arranged, but the introduction was.
As a lot of marriages are.
Even
the marriage is a fraud? Oh, there's got to be something.
Marriage is a marriage. I mean, he's married to her. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Well, so back to
I have no idea.
The Democrats know what they can and can't control, and so they chose a candidate that they thought at least they had in 110 days we have the best chance of getting this person.
You're talking about when?
This election. Let me ask you why.
They're so cynical. Only the Democrats can run somebody in 2020 that they knew was demented. They knew he wasn't right, and they ran it. They're cynical because basically the ones who controlled Biden was never a president. He was like King Charles. I mean, he was a figurehead. The ones who ran the government were people behind the line there, whoever, Obama people, other people, whoever ran he didn't run it. This is what they ran as president of the U.S. for the last 4 years, and then they put. I
think they thought they pulled it off with Biden.
And they put Kamala there because she was. Why her? She didn't deserve it either. She's no brain surgeon by any stretch of the imagination. She may be attractive physically to whatever.
But they thought they could pull it off,
and they did
in the time they had.
Because they have the media. The media.
And what is this election proving?
And it's not an organized situation, but there are certain things that is organized. You would find Fox would do this. They would show this. One word came out. What's the word? Deep
Weird.
trouble. A word will come out, and all of a sudden that particular word is repeated in all those.
He's
stations.
weird. J.D. Vance is weird.
Yeah, weird. All of a sudden, weird comes out, and not.
He's just
word.
weird. He's just weird.
A
meme, a buzzword?
What did Trump say? One phrase, which of course they attributed to nothing, and all of a sudden they all say it, and then they say another. It's repeated.
Yes.
And
They get fed.
It's probably for media matters. They do get calls, and this is the word we're going to stress, and they do stress it. There is some organization there. How much organization, I don't know.
So back to what Ami just said. What do you think this proves? That now that she lost,
So swimmingly,
in terms of
so
the media?
overwhelmingly, that having the media really doesn't give you much anymore.
Well, Trump is an unusual phenomenon. I mean, unusual he does not have voters. He has devoted followers. And he devoted such a strong following among his people that's unheard of in American politics. I mean, a lot of politicians were popular, but his were much more visceral. They were right there. And that's what I used to talk to your father about. I said, you can't measure him like everybody else. And you really can't. And he pulled it off because that's who he is.
Do you think him introducing this sort of populist energy into the body politic makes it very concerning going forward for future politics in which people can tap into the cult of personality that Trump has sort of paved the way for? Is it all just unique to Trump? Or is the next figure, what if you had a left-wing Trump? I mean, that would be insanely concerning.
He's not Cesar Chavez, and he's not Maduro. He's not
he's
Castro.
Not. No, he's not.
Trump is not. You say
is Castro Trudeau's father? Side note.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, next.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
you should see them side by side as young Castro and Trudeau. It's unbelievable.
Really?
No. He is. And that's another whole. He was born exactly 9 months after his parents took a honeymoon in Cuba. You'll figure, in April of 1960. Yeah, it's true. In April 19, they went to Trudeau's. Pierre Trudeau, not Pierre Trudeau.
He was the Prime Minister of Canada.
He was Prime Minister of Canada. Interesting fellow. Pierre.
So they were. It was possible
they had an open
countered.
marriage. They had an open marriage. That's their marriage, and they went to.
And she was craving some cubanos.
And Castro was a real ladies' man according to reputation. He had a different according to reputation. A lot of women.
You've seen the tapes, yeah.
And he was born 9 months after they were there. And another part is they said that Pierre Trudeau was sterile, not impotent. He was sterile.
Does he have any siblings?
Who?
Trudeau?
Yeah, but
5.
No, he has. I don't know the whole thing.
If he grew his beard out, would it just be like the Castro beard?
Look at young Castro and Trudeau.
I will.
We should put it up right now in the episode. Boom.
You know, the same thing is with Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
And that's the same thing with Obama.
The journalist.
If
Yeah,
you look
it's his father.
Ronan Farrow.
Ronan Farrow is Frank Sinatra's son. Absolutely.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
If you look at
Never answered the
if you look
question.
at Obama, Frank Marshall Davis, and Trump, Obama Sr., he looks like Frank Marshall Davis. Doesn't look at all like Obama Sr.
Right.
And of course, back to that conversation, he never goes to Kenya. If that was his family, his father's there, why isn't he ever there? He was only there once before on a publicized trip to show that he did so. That's way before he was elected president.
And what about Barron? Is Barron Trump's?
Yes.
Okay. Without a doubt. He looks like
Do you think Trump's kids have a good, healthy relationship with him?
With Trump?
Yeah.
I think he raised. He raised. As he said, he has children for 3 different marriages. Yeah. I think the first 3 are probably very well raised. Ivana Trump was probably a good mother, and they ran a decent household.
And now she's buried on one of his golf courses.
And yeah, probably she is. And Trump was probably a good father too. The other one, born in the middle, was whatever, he hadn't affair at that particular time. And this one,
who's Tiffany's mom?
Tiffany's mom was what's her name again?
Brigitte Macron?
No. What was her name?
I forget. Well, not important. But then he gave me Baron, my beautiful little Baron, who's 6'9", by the way. He's 7 feet tall. Baron is 7 feet tall.
I've never seen a picture of him, actually. And I just know I've heard
he wasn't.
He's huge.
He's 6'9". He's
how tall are you?
Supposed to be a smart boy.
Slovenian, right? Whatever.
Well, she's Slovenian.
Yeah, he's got something.
She's from Slovenia.
They asked her, if you knew you'd be first lady and he'd be president, would you have married Donald? Well, that is an interesting question. I didn't think about that.
I'm happy to have her back in the White House. She's a
classy lady.
She's great.
What did she do as first lady? She's a beautiful lady. She's a classy lady.
Bullying. She was against bullying. How ironic is that?
That's why?
She had an anti-bullying message. That was her.
What do you think of their marriage? Where do you think their marriage is standing now?
I think they have a good marriage. I mean, on the terms that they have their marriage. I mean, I think they have a good marriage.
Was it arranged?
No, he met. He
was dating a black woman before. They're like, Trump, you need a white.
What do you think the terms of their marriage are?
What
do you think the terms of their marriage are?
I don't know, but I think whatever terms they made amongst themselves, I think he keeps to. If he cheated once he married her, he may have. He obviously did before.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible the first lady has a boyfriend that no one knows about?
I don't think so. It's possible, but if she did, somebody be out there and
that's what I'm saying. Is like as a national security.
Maybe it's Michael Cohen and he's pissed off.
Anything is possible.
She used to love me.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Though.
We were on a substantive thing that I can get us back to, but keep going if you want.
One more question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair that it seems like Rudy Giuliani is still dealing with Stop the Steal day to day? He's lost his career, his family, his wealth.
That's a shame.
And Trump is just like president again.
That's
keep going, Rudy. You're doing great. I'm going back to the White House.
I have a sneaky suspicion that Trump will probably pay off a lot of his debts and get him back on. He couldn't do it until he won the election.
You really think? Yeah.
I think he'll pay him.
You think he's loyal like that?
Yeah. Trump is very loyal.
Do you think
Trump is very loyal?
Do you think Eric Adams voted for Trump?
No.
Mayor Eric Adams?
Oh, no. I mean, right now?
Yeah, in 2024.
He might have, yeah.
I mean, didn't that whole thing happen where they were indicting him because he pissed Biden off?
There was something there. I didn't follow.
Someone in his inner circle confirmed that.
I don't consider him very much, but so I don't know. But
you don't stand for me. I stand for you.
I still want to know.
And you should never be afraid to wear your yarmulke on the subway. Very glossy head. I can see my reflection in it.
I still want to know why Pompeo is not being considered for the
that was concerning to me.
I want to get to the details of his picks for the administration.
Right, so then
but in general, I just wanted to get your answer on like the fact that Trump has introduced this new era of politics. Either he's an anomaly entirely, which it seems like that's what it is.
He is.
But also the fact that it's I feel good as a Jew that he's the president. But if he ever wanted to say, we have a problem with these Jews, like his persuasive power over his following, devoted following, is dangerous, and I haven't forgotten like this ascendant right-wing anti-Semitism post-October 7th that's crept into the party. Right. It's there.
There's a danger there.
And it used to. It's like we all knew about the left, and some people woke up to that on the left.
The biggest danger I see is people who I used to worship, like a Tucker Carlson, is somewhat questionable right now. But I don't think it's Trump. Trump is clear. He's not a racist. He's not an anti-Semite by the slightest definition of the word. He's no danger.
But are you
there.
concerned about those elements now in the inner circle or in the party?
I am concerned, but I don't think he'll ever be expressed in any overt manner.
So piggybacking on that, also, I hear a lot about Project 2025. I just had a long.
The only place you hear about Project 2025 is some Democrats. Republicans don't know anything about it.
So I want you to tell me about it. As someone who's ignorant of it.
I don't know anything. Every time Trump would say, every time they would say Project 2025, he would say, I don't know anything about it. I remember QAnon? QAnon?
Sure.
Okay. I have a friend. He's a professor. He's a physicist with a PhD. Bright guy, who was in my high school class.
Weinstein.
Married to also a PhD. She's very close friends of mine. And she's very far out liberal, far out left. And she came out way back 4 years ago Yeah, what about QAnon? I said, who? He said, don't you know QAnon? I said, no, I know nothing about it. They glom on to these crazy stuff like 2025 and strawman, which is the way to put it, and like this is what it is. It's not. Whatever 2025 was or is, it had nothing to do with Trump. He had nothing to do with it. He had no dealings with anybody who wrote it.
Wasn't it out of the Heritage Foundation or something?
The fact that you can't talk about Project 2025 to me just shows that how powerful it is.
Way to flip it. But I believe it came out of some conservative think tank, and it was a series of platform ideas. Some good ideas, some conservative. I don't know.
That's what I know from the Heritage Fund. The Heritage Fund is generally okay.
I think it was Heritage. I could be wrong. It
is Heritage.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, there's a circle of people that are like in the Tucker Carlson universe of like isolationist, very religious, Catholic or Christian, who have some like ideas about how to concentrate more power at the top of the executive branch, and have some pretty like far right anti-Semitic ideas. Not necessarily like swastikas, but like the more classic Christian idea of anti-Semitism.
I used to watch Tucker Carlson religiously when he was on Fox. To me, he was brilliant. But
he had a weird laugh.
I could not stand the laugh. But other than that,
I mean, it's crazy.
I used to watch his documentaries and stuff. They were quite good.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. And then when he interviewed a guy like Roger Waters, a known. He had the one before. Who
did
was
he have Roger Waters on Tucker Carlson?
No.
The other guy, Piers Morgan did.
Piers Morgan
did.
No. Tucker Carlson interviewed Roger.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. Sure.
And then he had another priest from the West Bank on, and he's like, "How are Christians?"
I remember writing to Tucker Carlson at that time. He started his Tucker Carlson network, and I said to myself, he had the guy there. And you wouldn't ask one question about his known overt anti-Semitism. Never even asked a question. Why? That's one of his most not prominent features, but glaring features. I mean, he's a musician, supposed to be a very good musician.
It's why he's famous to me right now. You know, he's most well known for that at the moment. Of course, he was Roger Waters. Of course, he was in Pink Floyd, but like,
yeah, I'm talking about that.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a fair question because that's what he's known for. But
he's known as an overt anti-Semite.
Yeah.
It doesn't hide it. Why didn't Tucker Carlson, looking for the truth, ask him, how do you explain your anti-Semitism? He never asked the question. And when I joined Tucker Carlson when it just began at that point, and I wrote him a letter. I said, I can't imagine you're being an anti-Semite, but why didn't you? I asked him the question. I wrote him a nice letter. I sent it out to all my mailings. Why didn't you at least ask him that question? Never responded. I was a member then, but there is something there that bothers me. Shades of what was his name, Lindbergh.
So
here in Englewood, Lindbergh is from here. You know that?
Oh, really?
No, his wife is from Morrow. Anne Morrow. Morrow Street is
supposed wife.
But so is that
Lindbergh had two families, one in Germany and one here.
So here's the interesting thing. Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
No, just one more question. So whatever is going on with Tucker, is there a growing movement in elite circles of the Republican Party that I think this is what worries people.
They want to steer it that way.
That's an ascendant cultural movement.
There is what to worry about.
Yeah.
I can't yet imagine Tucker Carlson being a real anti-Semite himself, but he certainly can say, why is Israel important to America? And therefore, why should we support it? And of course, it is, and it should be supported, not because I'm Jewish, but because it's a mutually beneficial relationship, unlike other recipients of other kind of aid. But I don't know his positioning.
And then the questionable things about he had a priest on from the West Bank who talked about how Christians are treated in Israel, or
Yes.
That was the most disturbing interview of all time. He did not mention the fact that the Christian community in the West Bank has shrunken under Palestinian Authority, or the Christian community in Lebanon that's completely been decimated. He focused on how are they being treated by Israel. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just such a
Yes.
It has to be willful. The difference is there's certain commentators out there who don't know any better and they're just talking crap and they're trying to be provocative. But Tucker knows better.
Knows better than
He's
that,
an
yeah.
informed guy. This was makes it much more.
It's a similar thing to Roger Waters. How
Yeah.
do you have a guy like that and not challenge some of the stuff he's saying?
Yeah.
You want to be there, know the facts.
And then he had that historian on, the one who was the Holocaust revisionist.
Yeah.
Daryl.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? Yeah.
Something Daryl.
Horrible guy.
I don't know. I know the.
And it was like, it's like, why is he? They're dabbling in things. So I feel like there's been the thing I think happens is that now that Trump has won, and a lot of these people in these various factions, because the confusing thing is, like at the MSG rally, you saw applause for two different lines that are contradictory. So it's like, but there was a paradox going on where someone gets up there and says, like Giuliani, we need to stand with our only ally, Israel, in the Middle East. Stand with our ally. And everyone's applauding. And Trump is pro-Israel. And then someone up there says, like, we need to get out of these foreign wars. We need to stop. And there's like what they're hinting at is stop supporting Israel.
Yeah.
Israel, Palestine, all this nonsense. Get out of it. And they get applause.
That's what I'm concerned about.
But I'm thinking that with Trump in the White House, a lot of these like concerns, because they feel like they have someone on their side, both the Jews and the pro-Israel side and the ones who don't want anything to do with it, that we have someone who has both of our interests in a sense, so it calms everybody
They're
down.
mutually exclusive, though.
But it calms the temperature down in the sense that, look, like maybe I don't like the Israel stuff, but like we have Trump, and they'll feel more like a lot of this. It starts to get really bad when inflation goes up and all these other things under Democrats start to go haywire. Jews become this target in a way that I feel like under Trump may calm down. That's my hope.
We should talk a lot about Israel. There's a lot to talk
Yes.
about.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, we want to let you know that Ami's House is now on Patreon. We love doing extra content, bonus footage with every episode. The best way to support us is to head on over to Patreon, become a guest, and support the show for $5 a month.
If you like watching Ami cut me off, Patreon is a
Patreon.com/Ami's House for bonus content. Thanks so much for your support and become a guest.
So the news just broke.
Yes.
That Trump, he announced in a tweet, Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo Mike Pompeo are not going to be part of the government.
Right.
Which I found disappointing because I was under the impression that Mike Pompeo was really tough on Iran and was like...
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't have any...
What was his position last time?
I don't have any idea. I know why I didn't take Nikki Haley, and I think he's more or less right for that.
Why is that?
But she went after him.
She didn't support him.
She didn't, and he's...
Yeah,
he's a
I
man,
wasn't so surprised.
He's a man that... But Mike Pompeo, from what I knew, supported him. I used to get tons of his chunky emails and all the other emails I get. He was always supporting Trump. I have no idea why he didn't do it. And he was also very successful. A smart man, very smart.
What was his position in the last administration? Last Trump?
He was Secretary of State.
He was Secretary of State.
Yeah, and he was good.
What? I'll be the one to ask. What does Secretary of State do?
What do they do? They
Do you
run.
know?
Yes.
I don't know.
They run the State Department, supposedly.
That's it,
what's
Michael. They run the State Department.
What's the State Department?
They're the
State
president's
Department
foreign
runs
officer.
on all matters, official matters between states. In other words, passports and national relations
Between countries.
Between countries.
Countries, the sovereign state.
That's
They should call it the
between-
Country
between-
Department.
Huh?
They should call it the Country Department.
Well, they like state better.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's a foreign minister, you would say, or somebody who's representing the country when the president isn't, right?
Foreign minister, the word minister always tends towards
In a parliamentary system.
Would have some sort of a royal head.
Right.
You're minister to a king, minister
Like the
to
president in Israel is like the Secretary
that's
of
what a
State,
prime
right?
minister is,
Who's the
what?
Secretary
Isn't
of
it-
State now?
What?
Who is the second? Blinken.
Blinken. Oh, that's Blinken.
Yes.
Who's-
Sinking Blinken.
Who was Obama's chief of staff? Yeah, not Obama. I mean
Lou. Jack
Clinton,
Lou.
right?
Biden's chief of staff.
I don't know.
Because nobody knows. Because he never had. He never had any cabinet meetings. He had maybe 3 the whole years he was there.
Yeah.
Drag
The
him
whole
through
thing
the
was a
dirt.
joke.
Nah.
Whole
Yeah.
thing was a joke. He had nothing. They knew he was completely mentally incompetent. He was mentally competent before, but he lost it.
He
very
was just
early.
stupid. He was stupid 25 years ago.
He was very. He was a racist in the beginning to the highest end. He was.
Highest end?
Highest sense. And he always hobnobbed with what's his name?
The KKK dudes?
Yeah, what was his name there? From
David
West
Duke?
Virginia.
No, this other
West
guy.
Virginia. What was his name?
Kamala said you were a racist, but when they were running against
was
each
right.
other, she called him a racist.
His policy
Where's
calls
that
are
video?
always wrong.
It's
but
on.
he lost he got dementia very early on, and they knew it. So
If you watch old,
it's so cynical that they ran him in 2020, and then they ran Kamala to just put her in there in 2024.
Cynical's a good word
because
for it.
because they figured they have the press, and no matter what she is, they can hide it from most of the people, and they do.
Do they not have the talent?
Who?
The Democrats.
In general?
Yeah.
Who would have run?
I'm
Gavin Newsom? Who do you want to run there? Who?
Buttigieg?
Give me a break.
He could have run, no? I'm not saying I would have liked him, but he could have. Yeah.
Why would he be considered somebody good?
Why would she be considered?
He was not a good mayor of Indianapolis.
Not on policy, but on performance, he's a much better performer. Verbal IQ, performance on the media. There's no question he's way better than him than Biden or Harris.
But even in the Biden administration, in the beginning, he was out there, and then completely, you didn't hear about him for the last 2 years.
They didn't like him. They didn't like him, I don't think.
Okay, so I guess he wasn't the one to run. But Democrats have
Shapiro.
some good people. Shapiro would have been good.
You're going to see Shapiro in the future, for sure.
Yeah,
right?
no question.
Josh
Oh,
Shapiro.
so I mean, so why didn't they just elevate Shapiro? Why didn't they give him the
Because
name?
he was Jewish.
Yeah, but
Probably because they figured he was Jewish, and putting in a guy like Josh Shapiro is not useful and not the part.
But isn't winning useful? That's what I don't get. Like, isn't winning useful with a talent who can perform at a good level and connect?
But they have to understand them. They think they'll win no matter what, and they do.
That's true.
They have a massive fraud operation. They control the media, so they don't care what they put up. I'm just showing. They put up Biden, and then they put up Harris.
Back to where we are now, it definitely seems like a reckoning where they don't have those things anymore. They don't control the levers of the culture.
No, but what they don't have is what Trump did very well is he stumped and prevented a tremendous percentage of their fraud. So now they didn't have that.
But he also the ratings. Kamala had all the modern celebrity endorsements and the legacy media. Trump bypassed all that too.
But even those ratings and those polls, so many of them are frauds.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Frauds.
Clearly, the influence they think they can exert is much lessened than it used to be.
Okay. Yes.
And now we are in a new age where the Rogans of the world, the Flagrant podcast, the modern podcast that Trump did in the month leading up to the election, had much more influence.
So in 2016, it was Trump who exploited social media, and now it's 2024. He exploited new media. You know, he's like media, on the cutting edge of media and how to get
they basically in 2016 he used it dramatically. 2020 they took it away. They threw him off the platform. They threw everybody, and they gathered together to control it.
He also used legacy media against itself. Trump was amazing at monopolizing legacy media attention for maximum coverage. It actually wasn't quite yet. There wasn't a podcast space for him to rock in 2016. But what he did was he took this mainstream thing and just completely sucked all the air out of the room and made it and performed well on those things. And then 2020 was a problem because of COVID and a lot of other things. But it was what did he try to do? I feel like he also felt like he had it more in the bag because Biden was such a weak candidate. I don't feel like they anticipated what happened.
In 2016, he had a guy specifically whose job it was, he paid him big bucks to work social media.
Oh, Trump
which was not available to him in 2020. And that's when he started his Truth Social, which is doing very nicely right now. It's a good
Truth.
Listen, I compliment Elon Musk. I think he's one of my heroes.
Yeah, Elon Musk.
He's a hero of mine.
Is he the most influential person on earth?
He might be.
Right now?
He might be. Here's a guy.
Yeah. I mean, we have to say
here's a guy that ran and developed an electric car company basically from scratch, and made it to what it is.
Michael's never been impressed.
He
remember our conversation about it?
He rivals.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
He rivals NASA with SpaceX.
Okay.
He rivals NASA. Sure. SpaceX is a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah, you know, we did what we could. Yeah.
He has, of course, he has Starlink and Neuralink and what the guy's he's a genius.
Superhuman. Remember when he bought Twitter and you're like, what's this really going to amount to?
So
anything to say?
In my defense, I don't think anybody realized he was basically going to use it.
For good?
No, not for good. As a tool in his tool belt of influence. As a company, is Twitter healthier or more valuable or a better run product?
Invaluable.
I don't know.
It's much better running. He has 90% of the people he fired.
Is
He's running on 10% of the people.
I'm saying, for the shareholders, is it a more valuable company than it was?
It's not worth $44 billion at this point.
That's what I'm saying.
But he overpaid for it, no question about it.
Yeah.
But what he did is he made the company extremely efficient. I think he's going to be in the Trump administration. He'll be in charge in one way or the other in making government more efficient by eliminating so much of the waste. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. I mean, they had a Twitter space as well.
I think in the end, he was willing to have it worth $0 if it meant he now controlled the media in a big way.
Don't you think he really believes principally in free speech? Don't you think he did it for principal purposes?
I personally don't think so.
You don't think?
I absolutely think so. He believes in free speech, and that.
No, but he very quickly banned people who disagreed with him.
Who he did?
I can't think of a specific examples right now, but he is not across the board. Even if you're against,
you're talking
Elon
about in
himself.
his companies, the people that he would. You're talking
accounts. He's talking about accounts
on Twitter. He did not let anyone who wanted to speak badly about Twitter and Elon Musk speak badly about it on Twitter.
I never saw or heard about that.
I can't give you specific examples right now.
I'm not going to argue that. I never heard of it.
Michael's a huge liar.
I think Elon thinks he has a special responsibility to lead humanity in a certain direction, and in addition to money and the actual rockets
and impregnating women
and government influence, he needs media influence, and that's what he bought with Twitter. I think all that other stuff is a story he's telling.
You don't think there's any truth to the fact that
there might be some truth. I think there's some truth to it.
Concerned with what's happening with free speech out there.
I think there's some truth to it.
And he bought it specifically to have a platform, a built-in platform where he can in fact allow free speech to take place. That's what's happening.
I think there's some truth to it. But if Twitter became an anti-Trump platform and an anti-Elon Musk platform, I don't think it would be quite as free as it is right now.
I get it every day. I get it. Stuff leads on it. It's very interesting, and there is a lot of anti-Elon Musk. It's a pretty free term. You can say pretty much what you want there on X.
And you know what is an anti-Elon Musk, anti-Trump platform? You know what is? Everything else. Everything else we exist in is completely dominated by anti-Trump rhetoric, anti-Musk rhetoric, anti-Israel rhetoric. With the exception of Fox News, Twitter is the response in a way.
True.
And if you want to have not an homogenous monolithic conversation, now you have Twitter, which comes at a cost because it's a cesspool in there. But you also have free speech.
That's free speech.
Yeah.
And listen, I remember when hate crimes came out, and I said that's the wrong slope to climb. It's a slippery slope because it's not illegal to hate.
Yeah.
It's illegal to do something with the hate.
Yeah.
So at most you should do is that if you use hate as a motivation but the crime itself to hate, why is it a crime to hate? If I hate you, I'm allowed to hate you. If I hate Jews, I'm allowed to hate Jews. But that's part of being an open society. And that there's nothing wrong with that intrinsically. But all these hate crime laws are just idiotic. They're really idiotic.
Speaking of Truth Social for a second, Trump's SPAC, you know that? It's like SPAC it's like a public company that you don't really need any underlying company necessarily, but it's a way for a brand to go public.
Yes, I heard of that. Yeah.
What's his name? Chamath is really into SPACs.
Yes.
Anyway, Trump has a SPAC, and he obviously has a lot of shares in it. The day he won the presidency, his shares increased by $1 billion.
Nice.
He made $1 billion the day he won.
Trump made $1 billion on Truth.
Yeah,
Truth Social
is doing very nicely. I get that too.
Yeah.
Are
you on Truth Social?
I'm not on it. I didn't yet
make an account.
I have it, and I follow a lot of different people. I don't do it religiously and anything like that. But it's there. I mean, a lot of stuff in Truth always started off with Trump having his own stuff on it, which is written in his bombastic style. He doesn't write like I write, but that's what he does. But the other stuff that comes on is it's open, it's widespread. You can say what you want. You can call Trump an idiot, and they'll keep it on there. That's what it should be. That's what free speech is all about.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
So, all that aside, On some of the negative stuff with Trump, policy-wise, what's your take on the tariffs and the protectionism that animates Trump's platform so heavily?
That's a difficult question.
It's not a traditionally conservative or libertarian position on economics.
No,
you're essentially regulating business. You're imposing, prices on people.
The overall theory of free trade, open trade, is that wherever the market is for labor, it'll find that way, and it'll make the product cheaper, and it'll help along the line. Yes, but he's going, I think, into more gross areas where, for example, you can, in Japan, for argument, or in Korea, they sell our cars here, and we cannot sell our cars there because they apply huge amount of tariffs on it. Hardly any of them over there. In Germany, the same way. In other countries, and he will not go. You're not going to have an intellectual conversation with Trump on that level, but he'll basically say, if you want to make sure that the jobs will leave America and go somewhere else, I'll stop you. And of course, she called it a tax and whatever it is, or whatever, which it wasn't. It was a tariff, and he did use it quite successfully against Mexico and against China before. And
it's easy to see a short-term gain on that, but you end up imposing the tariffs generally hurt the country that's imposing it on the other country. Like the fact that they can't buy cheaper cars in Korea or in South Korea or Japan, it's hurting them. It's not really hurting us.
It's a deal. He made that. It's a trade deal. He abandoned NAFTA, and came up with a much better deal in the first term. What is it called? The MCA.
Okay. YMCA,
whatever they call it. It's a much better deal than the other one. He knows how to make a deal which is advantageous for America.
He uses the tariff thing as
his strongest point is he's a good deal maker. His philosophy is like that, and he's very much an American. He wants what's good for America. You may be right that implementing tariffs indiscriminately is not a good idea, but I don't think he's going to be indiscriminate about it. He'll just basically say, either you play fair with us, let us do both ways, or I'll slap a tariff on you. So that's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing as when Herbert Hoover did it in the Depression, and it ended up just totally wrecking the economy.
Smoot-Hawley, that was during that time. Yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah, well, there was motivated mostly.
You get this presumption that we're going to protect American jobs here, but you end up imposing costs on the businesses trying to not only have cheap labor, but sell goods at a low price, and the prices go up for the consumer.
Well, those tariffs were imposed by the various giants that controlled the industry. It wasn't done government-wise.
In the 30s.
Yeah, in the 30s. They influenced their senators, whatever it is. This is what they want.
To protect their businesses.
Protectionist stuff, and that does not work.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't do that. His tariffs are more selective and in a sense play fair, and I'll play fair with you.
And full of exemptions, from what I understood in the first term.
But play fair and I'll play fair with you. That's his general approach.
It's still a regulation in the marketplace, which is kind of anti-free free market capitalism.
It's not. It does go against free market capitalism. It's not pure free market capitalism.
But the question
is, just like, if you want to be a capitalist and you be like Ayn Rand, that's pure. But none of us are pure on that level.
You're not pure on that level?
No, none of us are. I mean, I believe in social programs. Ayn Rand didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a balance, and there's always a point. For example, government. Government, I think, the worst word in government is equality. That's what when you search for equality, you ruin everything because there's no such thing. It doesn't exist.
Except equality under the law.
Equality of opportunity, 100%. And the government should make sure that nobody should fall below a certain level. In other words, it's not the idea to make everybody, like with healthcare, for example. They wanted to have healthcare for all. Every place it's been tried, it's a disaster. Canada, it's not good. Britain tried it put it in 1947 in NHS. It's horrible. Ours is better. Yeah, the rich people have access to better medicine, but the poor people in this country have better medicine than the rich people have in the countries that have it. So you can't go with that. You have to go. It's moderated.
But I've heard the arguments. You have a mixed economy, though. You create distortions in the marketplace that are never better, that are never for the better.
You do. Distortion, by definition, is a negative.
Yeah, it's a negative effect on prices, supply. You can't, you don't get the most efficient outcome.
It's interesting that I bet 9 out of 10 Trump voters didn't vote for him based on like policy.
No.
but
they did vote on policy, on the general policy.
The consequences.
They voted on
immigration.
They voted on business things.
Messaging is different than policy.
But I would say most Trump voters.
Most voters don't vote on policy.
If there are economic consequences like that, they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't realize I voted for that.
Yeah,
I just
100%.
wanted to like show it to the woke."
Most voters probably don't vote on policy. They vote on how this candidate connects with them and how that makes them feel.
Yeah,
They're not like reading the platform and saying, "I like that." It's just not how the performance art of running for president goes. Obama won against McCain not because of a better policy platform, but because McCain said, and we just couldn't connect.
But then they
same with Romney, who was a stiff. You couldn't connect.
Romney was the worst. But even
happily married.
About the media destroyed Sarah Palin. She had such a great reputation before she became candidate for vice president.
Oh, she kind of also helped do that to herself.
That later on.
Yeah.
When she got divorced, her whole life fell apart. But before that, she was a rising star. She was a great governor of Alaska. She did very well as mayor of Walasi, whatever the name of the city she was in.
Yeah.
Wasilla. And she had a good reputation, but she came in there. They'll pick on somebody, they'll pick you apart and destroy them. That's what they do. It's unfortunate.
Can we get back to Israel?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do we solve Israel? What do you want to do?
I always used to say Israel was a black and white issue. We're
Careful.
right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
If you study history and if you know history, there's no other conclusion you can come with. I mean, we worship. I'm a developer upstate. And I remember when the New York State has a policy that if you find, when you're developing property, arrowheads or something that may be from an indigenous tribe from before, you can't develop. You have to hold it out. Belongs to them. It's always good there, but not to the Jews. Jews have been in. So
you join the Sioux.
Join the Sioux, right? Israel has been Jewish people or Israelites before they're only called Jews after the Assyrian expulsion of the 10 tribes. Before that, they were Israelites. Were there in that part of the world since at least 3,500 years ago. 3,000 years ago was King David. You're talking about an unbroken history. You're talking the Bible. You're talking about archaeological evidence. You're talking about all sorts of compatible historical evidence of what took place till the end. What happened, people, I remember, just an aside, people used to say, is Jesus a Palestinian?
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That is the funniest thing in the world. Because if you know the history where the word Palestine came from, it came from Vespasian, when he...
I thought it was Hadrian.
I'm sorry, Hadrian. Vespasian was the first temple.
Yes.
Vespasian was the emperor when they built the Colosseum, and his son Titus is the one who did the expulsion in 70 CE of the first temple. But the Jews were very difficult to control even then. And in 132, Bar Kokhba rebellion was even more vicious against the Romans. This is, if you know history, they really bloodied the Romans pretty badly. It took them 3 years to defeat them.
132 AD?
132 AD.
Yeah.
135, they destroyed it. And then Hadrian decided, that's it with the Jews. We're changing the name of Judea.
Syria, Palestina.
They were changing. Judea was called always Judea before that, into Syria, Palestina. Why? It was named after the old enemies of the Israelites.
Philistines.
The Philistines they were not extant at that time. They were already gone. So now Jesus was born ostensibly in the year 0, year 1, and died in the year 32, 33, approximately that time. How could he have been a Palestinian? The name wasn't even invented. Because you're a moron if you say that, but there's so many moronic things along the way. And Jews have lived in that area. I had books and I have stuff that I can discuss but they've been there all the time. They never left. They always had presence there. The only and how did the Muslims get there?
Saladin.
Saladin was much later.
Sorry.
They conquered. they conquered Israel.
Well, in the 7th century.
In the 7th century, you have to know about Islam too.
In the Muslim in the Arab conquest that took place before that, what was going on up between 132 and 600? What was there?
It was controlled Byzantine.
Yeah.
Byzantine, the Eastern Empire. The Roman Empire lasted till 1450, till Constantinople fell.
Right.
in 1450, whatever it was, that was the end of the Roman Empire. Right. The Western Empire only lasted 500 years. The Eastern one went to
Constantinople, which was modern day what? Turkey?
Istanbul.
Istanbul, right. It became Istanbul after World War I?
No, it came Istanbul when they changed the name officially, but the Ottoman Turks changed the name. Istanbul was Constantinople in Turkish.
But before, in
the year like 200, were people like, it's not the year 200. What are you talking about?
What year 200?
Like, don't tell me it's 200. What do you like? What
It's
do you
like the Louis C.K. joke.
It depends what count you on.
They weren't saying that then. It's historians that decided to. They weren't saying it's 200 then. Historians who account for it organize time as Jesus' birth, as Western civilization accounts for history.
The modern calendar starts in the year 1.
No one back then was saying
it's 200.
Prior to that, you had
it's 132 this year.
Different calendars back
then. Different calendars. I mean, the Muslims have a calendar now that's different than ours altogether, but they have an unadjusted lunar calendar. It means the year is only 354 days long. Ramadan, their holy month, moves throughout the year.
No, that's why it's always in a different spot. I'm always like, how is it Ramadan now? It's true. Ramadan is all the time. I never know when it is.
Because of
the lunar.
It's never adjusted. It's only adjusted in the Hebrew calendar.
They invented algebra. It's pretty good.
That's what it is.
In the historical, if we're on the sequence of getting to modern day Israel, just a quick fast track, because it's interesting, because no one ever goes back this far. But if you're at the Bar Kokhba revolt, and then the Jews are expelled, and it's expelled by the Romans, and then what in that time before Islam, what's going on in
before Islam, the Romans controlled it.
And Byzantine Empire.
But Roman in 300 became Christian.
Right.
And
Constantinople.
Constantinople was the capital of the Eastern Empire. It was Byzantium, which is Constantinople, which is now Istanbul.
There was an Eastern Empire and a Western Empire in the Roman Empire. It was divided.
Yeah, there was the Western. It was broken up. I believe in the year 200 and something, I forgot, they had two capitals. They had one in the east, one in the west, and eventually it split. And then the Western Empire was destroyed at 500 by some Visigoths, some barbarian tribe. They overran it. And
that's the collapse of the Roman Empire.
The Western Empire. The Eastern Empire stayed on until 1450 something, another 1,000 years.
But it became Christian when Constantine went into battle with a cross on the shield. And he had a dream or something?
Constantine adopted Christianity for the entire Roman Empire.
And called it Christendom, or made it part of the...
They became Christian. They became Christian. That became at that time. And
that was the Christian conquest of Jerusalem around that time?
No, Crusades? The Romans were in control since before Christ. Since about... since Herod was before, actually into that time, but he was before also. About the year, I would say, 140 BCE, something like that. That's when the Romans actually came into that area and started controlling.
But the Arabs that ended up in the strip of land was through what? The Ottoman Empire?
Which strip of land?
Israel, modern day Israel. I mean,
the Arabs left, and they were not Muslim, although people like to visualize that they all ran out of Arabia, holding their Quran. Quran wasn't really invented until the end of the 7th century, but they came out of there in the early 7th century, 632, 633, and they started. What happened in that time? There was a power vacuum in the world between the Persian Empire on the east and the Byzantine Empire west of that. And then the Arabs actually filled the vacuum, and they began to conquer and they eventually conquered the whole area in their way. They colonized it, like they want to accuse the Jews. And that's what they did.
Right.
And it was so until Muhammad's time, it was basically Christian. All northern Africa was Christian. They conquered them. So if you know your history, and if you read enough about it, and you can't consolidate it into a 2-second summary, it will be difficult. But
we'll do it for real.
When did the Ottoman Empire begin? What year?
The Ottoman Empire began somewhere around 1413 or 14, maybe before that. I don't remember what the first. But the Ottomans were Turkic people who Turkey today, at least certainly the most of Asia Minor was Greek. They're all Greek, and and there was a population exchange in the 20th century. But Ottomans were Turkic people who eventually moved in from the east and conquered Turkey, and they...
Because you hear Ottoman empires as far back usually as people go when discussing the modern state of Israel and the legitimate claims that Jews have to it.
They controlled it for exactly 400 years. 400 years.
In the 1880s, we see the first aliyah of Jews from Eastern Europe, right?
Yes.
Coming in and start,
But
a lot of the land was what? Was it?
There were Jews there from before, but the land was basically desolate. Read Mark Twain. He was there. There's very little going on there.
I'm reading a little bit of Benny Morris's Righteous Victims now, which is...
Benny Morris is an interesting guy because he was a revisionist historian originally, and then he became more...
He was more on the left.
He was more on the left. Now he's much more centrist than he ever was.
Right.
And Benny Morris was... I remember reading him way back then. No, the whole Israel conflict began, in my theory, and I think others basically supported, in 1920.
Yeah.
And what happened in 1920 is the Ottoman Empire fell apart.
Post-World War I.
Islamic, they lost.
You had two competing power vacuums of Arab nationalism and Zionism.
No, wait a second. No, you had that in 1880, 1890, you had all of that. But Palestine, which was just an area controlled by the Ottoman Empire, was still controlled by Islam. It was not an issue. As soon as Islam fell apart, that's when the Mufti of Jerusalem came into power, and that's when he started fomenting all the various riots and stuff like that, because Islam does not allow for any land that they once controlled to be controlled by anybody else. So Zionism, which means the Jewish yearning to go to their own homeland and being independent, is against Islam.
Right.
It's even deeper than that. I mean, Islam believes that even the original prophets were all Islamic, and they have all different.
Yeah, we're Muslims.
They all forget all that.
It's a whole theological
What is clear is to know is that's when it began, and it was never a question. Let's share the land, because the Jews always wanted to share it. It's a question: we don't want you here. We don't want
or you must be subjugated. We cannot have you.
If you want to act as a dhimmi, like you were under Islamic conditions, that's fine.
Yeah.
But no Jewish state.
No sovereignty.
No sovereignty.
I read somewhere that the Mufti's stroke of genius was branding it as the Al-Aqsa issue, where instead of just making it a Palestinian issue,
he called it that time when Al-Aqsa.
Right, they made it about the mosque, so now it encompassed the entire Arab world, and so they said this the entire Muslim world. They want to move the mosque, so now it's not just a Palestinian issue. You all need to care about it.
You're talking back in 1920s and
the
30s.
In the 20s,
They called it Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is a mosque. Listen, once the Arabs came, they built the Dome of the Rock in 685 or something like that. My years thereabouts, and it wasn't Islamic then. There's not one on the original dome. A lot of stuff is rebuilt. The original dome is still there with the original Arabic inscriptions. There's nothing from the Quran, because the Quran really didn't exist at that point. You have to know a lot about that in order to understand it. Arabs were basically they came from Arabia, and they conquered the world at that time because they became the power at that particular point, the Muslims at that point. Not they were Arabs, and later on it became Muslim, and then of course they needed a city. They established Mecca. You will not find Mecca on any maps of the world from 500, 600. It's not there because it was just a nothing. It was a little town that had one little spring. It was not. The other cities were there. Medina was there. It's called Yatrib. That was there, but not that. Mecca became. You have to read about it. It's very interesting. It's not what you think it is.
Yeah, but what was I was going to say that in fact, I'm making this argument that while the West likes to put this in the terms of this shared geographical dispute, that's a complete distraction.
It's a
and an
total
illusion.
nonsense.
Yeah.
And here they started. Look at October 7th. I mean, here you had the most glaring, barbaric act. I mean, the barbarism that took place, and they documented it all. It was unbelievable. And what did they want to do right away?
Kill the Yahud. Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, let's have a ceasefire and give them a state.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane what they're doing. They tell you it's not a battle to have our own Palestine. It's a battle to get rid of the Jewish state. That's what it is.
What do you think of Norman Finkelstein?
Huh?
What do you think of Norman Finkelstein?
He's a piece of shit.
Cool.
What else do you want me to tell
Well,
you?
you know what? I resent that very much. This is a...
Only and
want
what's
to
the
have
guy's
a
name?
civil-
What's the guy's name?
Which one?
The one from Yale, the linguist.
Noam Chomsky?
Noam Chomsky.
MIT.
Yeah. He's what a.
I want to have a civil conversation.
Only professors can be like that.
Yeah.
They can only see the world in such a skewed way as long as it fits their ideology.
Alan Dershowitz?
Oh, he's a good guy.
Okay.
I wasn't such in favor many years ago.
Yeah.
On the contrary, he was very friendly with my. You remember Heshy?
Yeah.
His brother.
He was friendly with Heshy's brother.
Heshy's brother he is a professor. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he was friendly with him. There was a whole crew of them. And
He was in Boston?
No, they all knew each other from Borough Park.
Oh, interesting.
From Borough Park.
Oh, wow, that's something. Did you know that? Alan Dershowitz from Borough Park? Whatever.
No.
That's real. That's a fact.
There's a movie about him. Did you ever see that movie with the guy who
plays him for the OJ? Somebody plays him in the OJ
Yeah.
trial.
No, not the OJ movie.
Klaus Barbie.
This oligarch in America killed his wife.
Yes.
And he defended him.
Isn't it Klaus?
Yeah, maybe.
Klaus
the guy
Barbie?
who plays
Klaus
Scar.
Klaus Barbie's
What?
in France.
Scar from The Lion King
it's
is
not
in
Klaus
it.
Barbie. You're talking about somebody.
No, that's a Nazi. It was Klaus von...
Yeah, it was Klaus. It was not...
Klaus Barbie was a famous Nazi.
No, it was
I'm
a
thinking
Nazi
of
in
Klaus.
France. Yeah, I know
Klaus
too.
something. And the guy who plays him plays Dershowitz in the movie. That was one of Alan's first big cases that made him like a
Yeah.
That's correct.
But I forgot who the guy... Yeah, it was played by Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons. Exactly. Scar. Mufasa.
Can you see under a Trump presidency in 4 years a complete collapse of the Iranian regime and the reinstallation of the Shah via his son?
The reinstallation Shah, I don't know. His son, I'm talking about. The son.
They're like having him wait. He's being prepped.
It could have happened already.
Tell me, I need to be
Had the Biden
encouraged,
administration been interested in replacing Iran, they were really on the balls of they were just totally out of it. But they didn't. And there was I think 2 years ago there was a whole thing.
They were talking.
They took no advantage of it.
Of the protests in the street.
Nothing.
The Shah of Iran was
no support. Now whether you're able to foment an internal revolution that they'll be overthrown, I don't know. I look forward to it. I'm not sure that'll happen.
I say that because I feel like ultimately when they talk about the head of the octopus of the tentacles of terrorism in the Middle East and instability, it's Iran.
Yeah.
But basically, in the 70s when the hostages were taken in the embassy, the Shah of Iran was the secular kind of dictator of Iran. Mm-hmm. A lot of imperfections and people had issues, but it was a much more free society, open to education, women were freer. And then, how did the Shah end up falling? How did it end up happening in the 70s?
With Khomeini in 1979.
How did that politically happen?
It was an an Islamic movement.
Right. He enjoyed enough popular support to overthrow the Shah.
He was a Shia
cleric.
Ayatollah.
Cleric, yeah.
Ayatollah is a high cleric, and he had a tremendous amount of following. It was
within Iran.
And eventually, people decided let's go along with this against the Shah, who was oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't realize they'll be much more oppressive.
Right.
They find that out later. Yeah.
So he was dictatorial. He had absolute power. He was a king.
He was an absolute king, absolute monarch.
But he was more secular.
Very secular.
And he had cancer. He needed chemo. He went out.
He died later on.
Oh, okay. But he left the country. They flew him out of the country when they took over the embassy and had the revolution.
They wanted him back in the country
to try him,
and they got him out of the country.
And that's why they took hostages.
Well, they took hostages. Yeah, pretty
they
much.
invaded. They took over the embassy, the American embassy in Iran.
Reagan got him out.
Yeah,
Argo.
What? That's Argo.
Yeah. Reagan came in there and basically said,
"You better let go of these American hostages."
Within a day or two of his inauguration, whatever, they let him go. After 444 days. Yeah,
which is pretty badass.
So what? How confident how serious do you think Trump is about escalating things with Iran versus backing away?
If he imposes the sanctions again, like he did when he was in office, which were very effective. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can just put him back again as was before. Yeah. I mean, oil now is becoming less and less of of a weapon than it was in that particular time. But Iran gets most of its money from
And
oil.
right now, sanctions are completely lifted. In other words, they're allowed to trade in American currency.
It was all done by this administration.
They lifted the sanctions, which means when you impose a sanction, you prevent them from doing what exactly?
From selling their oil. You tell a country
because of currency.
If you buy Iranian oil, you don't do business with us. And Trump is very good at that.
I had a friend who told me the sanctions actually didn't affect their economy at all, and I didn't know how to respond to that.
That's just not true.
That's what I should have said.
They had
it's just not true.
Their cash reserves were, I think, it was low as $10 billion. This is for a country, and it's a pretty large country. No, they were hurting very badly at that time. And as soon as Biden won, not him or whatever it was, they lifted it and they put them right back on their feet. And all that money goes for their nefarious purposes, and it's very nefarious.
So what do you think it is? So why don't you think Mike Pompeo got rehired?
I don't know. I am baffled. I don't, unless there was something between him and Trump. Trump found him disloyal at some point or another.
Maybe he's sick. Something. Maybe he's got cancer and he doesn't want to talk about it. You don't know.
He certainly lost weight.
He wouldn't announce it in that way though. Along with Nikki Haley,
he announced it with Nikki Haley together.
Right,
Nikki Haley was clear why.
Right.
That was easy to understand. I don't know what happened with Pompeo.
She wears Terry John.
Huh?
Nikki Haley wears Terry John.
I know that.
Yeah.
Ricky tells me that.
Yeah.
That's true.
A mutual friend's wife makes her dresses.
What was P. Diddy's clothing brand?
Oh, Diddy's clothing brand?
I'm
forgetting.
A popular one, right?
Yeah, it wasn't this.
I feel like the stock on that has gone down probably. Yes. It was like Sean Combs or...
Yeah, Combs. Sean.
He had like
an apparel,
a brand. Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like that'd be like a fun thing to have now.
I don't remember the name. Diddy, you following the Diddy scandal? P. Diddy, freak offs in Hollywood.
I know about it. It's not my.
You know who was at every party? Obama. No, I'm just kidding.
White parties, whatever they call
the white parties.
Yeah, well, Obama was there. A lot of the lists are going to come out now.
I was kidding.
No, but I don't know about Obama, but a lot a people are in there.
Clinton would never miss a party like that.
Well,
a lot of baby oil.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of baby oil.
They're saying about the list.
I think Trump's going to release all of these like Epstein lists and things like that. That's what he says.
He might.
I might do it. I might just do it.
He might do it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Now, do you think Trump is going to make it to January without multiple assassination attempts to come? God forbid. But
I think he'll make it to January, but I think there's definitely, he has so many enemies.
He's a marked man.
He has so many enemies in the government itself. You're talking about the CIA, you're talking about the FBI, you're talking about a whole entrenched bureaucracy here that doesn't.
Who do you think tried to kill him?
Who?
Who do you think? Who was behind the first Butler assassination?
He will find out.
Mm-hmm.
He will find out. I think if he gets to the far, hopefully he will, to the inauguration and the government takes power, there'll be a lot of investigations. They'll investigate January 6th to the hilt. And that is, I watched a documentary.
Investigate it in what way?
January 6th.
Federal agents let people in.
January 6th.
Here we end with a bang. Let's do it.
January 6th was a fraud, total fraud. I mean, there's so many things happening. They did not come for. The rally was to bring another slate of electors, which is perfectly legal under the Constitution. It happened in 1876 too. You're allowed to do that.
Which president? They brought in a different.
Rutherford B. Hayes.
They overturned an election.
Oh. They brought another slate of electors and they overturned it. But they were crooked. Here, the other way around. The ones who came in with the slate was crooked. Trump was not accused of being crooked.
Do you think he's going to declare January 6th a national holiday?
Who?
Trump?
No.
It was a headline from the Babylon Bee today. Trump declares January 6th a national holiday.
No, but what he did, what the worst thing the media does is when they take what Trump says, like the Charlottesville thing and stuff like that,
that was
they cut what he said after that. They edited it. I mean, it's like me saying I'm a movie critic. I'm saying that movie was a great waste of time. And you cut me off at great, and that movie was great.
Yeah.
You know,
they do that to him all the time.
Rogan said Obama Obama did that thing a day or two before the election. He said that's what flipped it for him, and that's why he endorsed Trump.
Oh, when he lied about that
Specifically
to an audience.
that.
Really?
Yeah, he said
white supremacist rally, and he said there were fine people on both sides. He said that. That's what he said. And
if you read what went on, he clearly said he went. First of all, the whole thing was there was a protest in Charlottesville between those who wanted the Confederate monuments removed and those who wanted to keep them. That was the whole deal. And there were some Nazis there too, but the two parties who were competing with each other is for the Confederate monuments and against that.
There were good people on both sides.
And that two sides, Trump said there were good people on both sides. And he said clearly, and I don't mean the Nazis.
Right.
He meant people who wanted to keep
and I'm not talking about the white
Robert E. Lee's statue. That's part of American history. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He said very fine people on both sides, and I'm not talking about the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis. They should be condemned totally.
And they keep going on with it. Just keep lying
you think
and
that
lying,
January 6th will be revealed in the Trump presidency now as a fraud?
It's a fraud.
That the federal agents let people in.
His people were not armed.
That'll be something.
They keep saying that people were killed.
They must be terrified. Trump has access now to all these things.
But to your point, how do they let him get there?
Terrified.
What?
She's terrified.
Nancy.
She's a crook.
Was her husband really attacked with a hammer?
I don't know.
I think he was.
Everybody, I think he was too.
Okay.
But they put the guy into. They sentenced him for no parole.
Yeah, the 25 years.
Imagine that. How crooked he committed a crime, but no parole. Put him in jail for 10 years or 20.
I always thought it's like January 6th was more like a Shabbaton that went out of control. You know, we've all seen it. Bunch of buckers went crazy.
You had a bunch of his people there. They were not armed. None of them were. You see a guy like Epps coming in and says, you must go in. He's a federal agent.
Is he? Was that proven?
Yeah. Of course, it was on tape. You can see it.
I see him do it, but was it proven that he's a federal agent?
Yeah, yes, absolutely he was. Absolutely was a federal agent.
Is that, are you conjecture?
No, I'm not conjecturing that. I saw they had a Epic Times, the EPO.
Epoch, yeah.
Epoch.
I've seen the ads.
Oh, they're very good. I have a lot of their stuff. It's good reporting. It's clear reporting. It's honest reporting. They did a whole documentary on it, and it's devastating. The whole thing was contrived.
That he was a federal agent.
It's contrived.
Well, I'm excited to see that. And back to the assassination, who do you think is behind that? Because Trump said on one podcast that both assassination attempts on the golf course and in Butler, they had two phones with them that they refused to release. What's on the apps on the phone? The correspondence of who they were talking to.
Listen, the guy was killed and was cremated right away.
Yeah, he has no history online.
Nothing.
The guy he was in an ad in Pennsylvania for
and the guy who was stalking him in the golf course. Again, nothing. There's a lot of stuff will come out now, and that you say, will he live through it? They're going to try to kill him.
I tell the story about the movie The Sum of All Fears. At the end of the movie, there's this song called Nessa Dorma, in which they end up killing all of the fascists that were behind the plot in this movie, The Sum of All Fears. A nuclear bomb goes off in Baltimore, and the people who were behind it were these neo-Nazis that were trying to get Russia and the United States to go to war. So they framed Russia by launching a nuclear weapon, and it went off. And at the end of the movie, Nessa Dorma, this opera song, Nessa Dorma.
Yeah, I know that.
You know Nessa Dorma. And then he ends up that's the scene in which they kill all the people and be responsible. At the end of the Republican convention, what song is playing? It's not proud to be an American. They're playing Nessa Dorma. You think that's a coincidence?
Who knows? Who the heck knows? But I worry. I'm thinking Trump is taking great pains. He probably has personal security besides the Secret Service.
Why doesn't he just lay low and not even make public appearances?
He's essentially doing that.
Yeah. He's releasing reels.
He hasn't been out. I haven't seen him anywhere going out on the victory things. He is laying low.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
He's definitely afraid of it.
Terrible.
Right now, that would be bad. Even worse than before.
Yeah.
Forbid, if something happened to him.
I was with Nachman when he got shot the first time.
Whether you like him or not, that would be a bad
I was with you the first time he got shot when we didn't know.
That's right.
Back then, I didn't feel quite as concerned.
You just were like, whatever.
I didn't feel as concerned. Now I would feel, whether I liked him or not, I would feel that would be a bad
It would certainly be bad, but knowing...
You're talking about liking. Why the man has so many people who dislike him so viscerally... Partially his personality, which he
primarily
has certainly. That's not primarily. Primarily, it's the media. That's all you hear.
Because it turns out a lot of people like him.
All you hear.
Right. I remember after the Charlottesville.
All you hear. That's all. All these people hear. He's bad. He's Hitler. He's this. He's that. He's the worst. This and that. He's the worst thing ever. That's also for 90% of the people who hate him so much. They're taught to hate him. That's what they're taught. Some people may, because the reputation of him as a person is quite good. He's supposed to be a very nice guy, very caring guy.
For every story like that, there's a story about a
I'm
small
sure there's
business
other
he
ones.
screwed over.
I'm sure, but he's no different than anybody else in that situation. Just because he's more abrasive, and the thing I dislike the most is when you call people names. That I never liked.
About him.
What?
When he would do
Trump,
that.
yeah, I never liked when he called lying Ted and this and that.
That was a big part of the strategy.
It was part of his strategy. It worked.
And also like saying, John McCain got captured. I like people that weren't captured. That's a low blow.
That's stupid.
I'm curious to hear what you think about this also, and we can wrap up soon. But as someone in real estate, a big knock on him is he's actually not a successful real estate developer.
Yeah, they like to say that he went bankrupt a number of times.
Yeah, how do you feel
maybe
about
some
that?
of his business he never went bankrupt. Some of his business might have. Okay, listen, he was involved. Listen, I was introduced to Trump, and I remember, and not personally, in 30 years ago, there was the Kate Woolman skating rink. I remember this happening like almost yesterday. I remember that time. They had a skating rink, Kate whatever, in Manhattan, and the city fixed it time and time again. They spent $3-4 million fixing it and never got it. And Trump was a braggadocious guy at that particular point. Says, I can do it in 1 year, less than that, for a fraction of the price. And he did. He sent his guys in there, fixed the skating rink, cost $800,000, and it's still good till today. And that's who he is. That's what he does. He gets things done. He built tremendous amount of buildings all over the place. Yeah, he also was known at that time for hiring women. He had women running a lot of his projects. He was known for that.
He just hired the first female chief of staff.
Yes, but he did that then, and they call him misogynist. He's not a misogynist. It's all nonsense. So if all the common Joe hears he's the worst piece of shit in the world, that's what they think. Yeah, okay, some people don't like him personally, so I don't like other politicians personally either, but just the way
I think when you tally up most of it on the scorecard, he's probably not that much different than most presidents.
Who, Trump?
Yeah, in terms of his misogyny and shady legal.
I don't know.
His personal brand wasn't what you think it is until he started running for president either.
He's not a misogynist.
I don't know.
He's not a misogynist. On what basis do you call him?
I love women.
He's not a misogynist at all. If any, he's no. That's not his.
No, I mean,
maybe in words and temperament, but not in actions.
I can't point to anything.
No, what I'm saying is before he became
a civil suit for like sexual assault. Last year.
Go to that thing. Read that case. It is highly flawed.
Yeah.
Highly flawed. This Stormy Daniels case, highly flawed. And
Stormy Daniels doesn't make him a misogynist, I don't think.
No, the contrary.
Makes him a man. But here's the thing. You remember that he was well received in a sense by media and Hollywood before he became a serious contender for president. Yeah, he had a brash personality, but he was on The Apprentice and they embraced it.
They liked it.
And they liked it. It's like, you're fired. You're fired. I don't care. He was this heartless boss man. That was the brand, and people liked that. All of a sudden, he starts running for president, and it becomes serious. They turned on him.
He threatened them.
Yeah. So it turned on him.
His presence with his agenda threatened their...
It's not like that if they discovered that behavior.
So what I was going to say is I remember after Charlottesville, I remember being in Tahoe and talking to you on the phone, because I remember it was really hot, but I was outside talking to you on the phone, like very worked up about it on the other side of that conversation. You were like, I don't really think he's racist or anti-Semitic, and I was really worked up. And it's remarkable how much of that I've let go, I think, since then, along with the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Because, like, to what you said,
you'll become a Trump fan if he gets enough time to run the country.
I think he's already there.
I might. I'm not.
If you have an open mind, I think you do.
I'm definitely not anti-Trump anymore. I was, and I'm not anymore.
There you go.
Which is a remarkable feat.
In a sense, for someone
lost me in that way, and for him to have
gained you. If anything you could say about Trump, I think anything they've said about him in the deceitful way is worse. The misrepresentations of Trump are worse than the actual representations that he does for himself. Yeah. They just overplay the hand to say he's a Nazi. You could say what he says about John McCain isn't nice, but to call him a Nazi is wrong.
And also like how and when you're tallying it all up, how different is he than Biden in terms of holding on to power that he didn't?
He's just honest about
want
it.
to let go of and all of that.
The difference is he's honest about it.
And he did a lot.
Biden's honest about it.
There was a peaceful transfer of power in 2021. He left.
He should have gone to the inauguration as a symbolic gesture. Ooh. Trump, he should have done those things.
To which inauguration?
In 2020, Trump should have attended and conceded properly and said, I'm going to be back so strongly in 2024. For the symbolic nature of the Oval Office transferring, that's pretty important.
You have to understand, a guy like Trump, and he knew a lot more than you think he knew. He knew that the election was dramatically stolen from him. He knew it. And he was very upset about it. If you lose an election normally, okay, I lost, goodbye. Hey, good show. No,
but you don't think for the symbolic nature of the country he should have attended?
He was bothered by that dramatically. And he was right.
We shall see.
He was right.
It's a good way to button the
episode
episode
up. Now you can
up.
see he's right. Look what happened to the results in 2024. Yeah. And you can say, how
crazy.
Did you do this in 2020?
Crazy.
And now you can go do this in 2024.
He's like, see, they've loved me the whole time. That was a total...
The craziest explanation of all of that is, what if it was stolen? Mm-hmm. Then he is not so crazy.
It was stolen and he's not crazy.
And on that note, it was stolen. He wasn't crazy. Nachman, you might be, but you've been a great guest on the Ami's House Pod. It's
pleasure
great
to have you
again.
Really.
We got to get some more.
Guys.
We got to get some more boomers around the table. They know so much.
Get more water next time.
Oh, more water. Okay, so sorry.
If we get more water, there's more bathroom.
There's too much Nachman. There's fluoride in the water. I didn't want to give it to you. There it is, saved by the producer. Too much fluoride. And next time I will make sure to get it to you. RFK, you excited about that? That's a little funky, no?
He's an interesting character, RFK.
Yeah, he definitely likes the regulatory state a little too much for my liking, because he's a government guy. We didn't cover Bobby.
I like him.
We'll cover him next time.
All right.
I like him.
Thanks everybody for watching. That's the legend himself, Nachman Kanevsky. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Thanks for
marathon here.